Have you ever heard the term scholarly article or peer-reviewed article? Maybe you have to write a paper and your instructor said you have to use scholarly or peer-reviewed sources. What does that mean? The term scholarly or peer-reviewed means that the article is a research study that has been verified by experts in the field. The article has undergone a rigorous editing process. First, the authors will conduct a study and compile their findings. Then they will send their article to a journal publisher. Then the publisher will send the article to experts in that particular field of study, and these experts will review all the data that was collected. If they agree with the findings, then they'll give their seal of approval, and the article will be published in the journal. This process can sometimes take years. So how can you find these peer-reviewed articles? If you're using a library resource, such as EBSCO or Gale, it's actually pretty easy. You select the peer review box on the search screen, then all of your results should be peer-reviewed. And don't forget to check mark the box next to full text so that all your results will be accessible. If you found an article on your own, how can you tell if it's been peer-reviewed? Just remember the acronym PAPER. The first P stands for the person who wrote the article and who published it. In a peer-reviewed article, the author will be an expert in their field. You should be able to easily identify the credentials of the author. Oftentimes you'll find a mini biography about the author either on the title page or on the last page of the article. The bio will include their job position, who they work for, and where in the world their employer is located. If the author is a journalist, or even a professional in the field who is not considered a leading expert, then the article most likely is not peer-reviewed. The A stands for the audience that the article is meant for. The audience of a peer-reviewed article are professionals already in the field. The article will use discipline-specific vocabulary that will not be easily understood by people outside of the profession. While you're in college, you will be learning the discipline-specific vocabulary. Because you have not mastered it yet, it might be difficult for you to understand the article because of its complicated language. Keep in mind that the article was written for college graduates who already have experience in the field. During college, you will gain experience learning how to read peer-reviewed articles so that you're prepared to do so once you graduate. If the language is easily understood by anyone and seems like it would appeal to people outside of the profession, then it is probably not peer-reviewed. The second P stands for the purpose of the article. The purpose of all peer-reviewed articles are to share original research, techniques, and topics. You shouldn't find anecdotal evidence and opinions in a peer-reviewed article. These studies are based on research, facts, and interpretation of the data. The study will be extremely narrowly focused, not broad. The title of a peer-reviewed journal article is often quite long and specific. Here are some journal article titles I found. These titles are long and specific because the authors want you to be able to find their article in a search. So they tell you in the title exactly what the study is so that you have a good chance of finding their article while you're searching for your topic. If the article simply reports on studies researched by other people or seems like it would appeal to a broad audience, then it is probably not peer-reviewed. The E in paper stands for exterior appearance. This doesn't only include print journals that you could find at a library, but also any digitized journals that are readable online. The appearance of a journal is going to be very text-heavy. There will not be any advertisements, and there will be very few images. Most of the images that you see will be charts, graphs, tables, and photographs of the data. If the journal you're looking at has many illustrations, images, and some advertising, then it is probably not a peer-reviewed journal. The R stands for references. If an article is peer-reviewed, it will have a list of references at the end. If it doesn't, then it's definitely not peer-reviewed. If you've gone through the acronym PAPER and you're still not sure if your journal article is peer-reviewed, then you can look up the publisher's website by conducting a Google search. You should be able to find a description of the journal. If the journal is peer-reviewed, then the publisher will tell you somewhere in the description of the journal because they would want you to know that it's peer-reviewed. If you can't find any mention of peer review, then it's most likely not a peer-reviewed journal. If you're still unsure, or you want help, contact a librarian. We'll help you determine if your article is peer-reviewed or not. If you have any questions about how to tell if an article is peer-reviewed, contact the library.